In this video, I'll help you understand how to not suffer anymore. But first, I want to check something with you. Have you ever had a time when you wake up in the morning or you're just walking by your bathroom like you've done every other day, but weirdly, that day you catch yourself in the mirror and you don't feel like yourself? Not as if like you don't feel good or something, but you look at this reflection and you don't feel like it is you. And it feels weird, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels almost natural. I've had this happen to me a few times throughout the years. Not often, but every time it happened, it was an odd experience that was at the same time very comforting. And without knowing it, I was realizing what my true nature was, what our true nature is. So right now, I'm going to take you on a journey that might shatter your beliefs completely. But if you're willing to go all the way, you'll get out of this video completely changed and confident that you're not going to suffer anymore. Because through movies and through videos and all that stuff, we've been led to believe that the human condition is to suffer, right? Like we're bound to suffer here and there. And it is true, but it's not as bad of a thing as people have portrayed it to be. And I'm going to show you why. First of all, we need to think about how we perceive reality, what we believe about the way reality works. And what most of us think is there is the inside, right? We're inside a body where our thoughts lie. And our thoughts are represented from our mind, are created by our mind. And then there's the outside world that we perceive through our eyes, through our ears, through every sense, right? So it's feeling and perception. Feeling as in sensations, right? The stuff you feel, like the tingles on your body, your heart beating, all that kind of stuff. And perceptions is mostly the stuff you hear and see. And if we want to break it down, it would be everything touch related, and sensation wise, it's feeling, and perception is the stuff that you see, quote unquote, at a distance. And we believe that those things represent reality. Those things are the outside world. But now I want you to think about something. When you have a thought, most of the time, your thoughts can only be perceived through feeling and perception. You can only imagine a sound, an image, or a sensation, right? You can't even imagine a smell, right, by remembering it, or a taste. But you can't imagine anything that is not confined within your feeling and perception that you have of the outside world and that you have already experienced before. And through that realization, you can see that thoughts are actually just perceptions too. That thoughts are actually just another part of experience. They're not necessarily inside. They're just part of the stuff you perceive and feel. But now, where does all this perceiving and this feeling happen? It happens within awareness, within the conscious mind. If you try to understand where a sound comes from, the sound doesn't come from the object that we believe it comes from. The sound is actually just your ear interpreting a vibration. If I'm slamming my hand on my desk isn't making the noise. The noise is just the noise. And once you realize this, you can start understanding that every feeling, perception, experience is happening within your mind. You might think you're trapped inside the head, but if you were trapped inside the head, you wouldn't be able to perceive anything outside of it. So the head, just like the body, is only a sensation too. And now, if everything is happening within the mind, within awareness, the mind itself is a contraction of pure awareness. Now, I know I might be going off ramp and you might be like, okay, what's the difference between awareness and pure awareness? I'm going to tell you. Now, this is the infinite sign, of course, but I'm going to use it in a bit of a different way. I want you to imagine that this, in the middle, is your current experience. This is the individual kind of point of view, right? This local point of view, where you feel like you're behind eyes, perceiving something from inside a shell. Okay? Now, on each side of infinity, on each side of awareness, there is empty silence and full silence. Don't ask me why I put full silence on the left and empty on the right. It just felt natural to me. I just put it down. Okay. If we were going towards full silence, let's say there are those two branches, right? That go towards full silence. There would be two options. Either you, little by little, add a new sense. For example, you would add, a sixth sense like intuition, and another one that would be similar to smell, but is a different way, right? And you keep adding senses, and again 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 and again, until at some point there are so many, and I will even say too many senses for our conscious mind to perceive anything anymore. And you would end up at the full silence. It's full because there are so many things in there that you cannot perceive any particular thing anymore. The other way to go there is this branch, which is not by adding new senses per se, but by adding new perspectives. For example, instead of being the individual anymore, you would have the perspective of new people, of new points of view. And you add so many points of view that at some point, the vision, the hearing, the smell, the touch would get blurred with so many perspectives that, again, your conscious mind, the mind itself, right, the thing that you believe you are, wouldn't be able to perceive anything anymore because it would be too many things at the same time. It would be everything and therefore would not be able to perceive anything. Okay? Now, the other side is about, you're going to guess it, right? Either you take away your five senses little by little until there's nothing else, or you lose the individual point of view and you become nothing. Little by little, for example, instead of feeling like an individual person, you start losing parts of yourself. It might be how people get mad, right? You start losing your awareness of yourself. Little by little, again, you don't feel anything. You don't perceive anything. It's silent. Now, this silence, whether the empty silence or the full silence, are actually just the same thing, right? They're part of the infinite. Truth is, they're linked like this, right? They're constantly in the same place. And this silence happens within the current experience. Or more so, the current experience happens within this silence. Every time you go to sleep, every time you lose your train of thoughts and you just simply are, you just dazed. Sometimes we're dazed, right? We forget where we were for a second, right? It happens. Every time this happens is because you've been either here or here. Maybe not exactly here, but like somewhere here or somewhere there, right? You've been somewhere else than the individual point of view. And we keep alternating between those two things, the conscious mind and the pure awareness. The awareness, that's awareness, and that's pure awareness. Truth is, your true identity is pure awareness, because that's the foundation of it all, right? You are only local in this particular place, while you are pure in all these places. And as you've seen, even the current experience, even awareness, the conscious one, is part of pure awareness, is part of this whole infinity sign, right? But you cannot be conscious when you are there. That's why even if you go there pretty much every night when you go to deep sleep, and every time you're in a daze, every time you're just not even thinking about suffering, you cannot remember it, because there isn't anything to remember, because you are not anything in particular at that particular moment, because you're everything or you're nothing, or both. There cannot be memory if there is no separation. You cannot remember yourself seeing something if you are not a self seeing something. If you're the observing itself, if you're literally just everything from here to here, you cannot have the same experience as if you felt like you were here watching here. Once you understand that you are pure awareness and that all of this is only there to be experienced, that all of this is happening within awareness, and deeper than that, within pure awareness, because as I've said, the mind, therefore awareness, is a contraction of pure awareness. Awareness is a contraction of pure awareness. Consciousness, like your conscious mind, is only pure awareness localizing itself to have an experience. Because it can only have an experience by localizing itself, as I've said. Once you realize this, it's not so much about not suffering anymore. It's about accepting the suffering. You accept the suffering as part of the experience you're having as awareness. When you go a bit deeper, you realize the feeling you have when you're afraid of something is pretty much the same as the one you have when you're excited. The feeling you have when you have pain is pretty much the same as the one you have when you have pleasure. A good example would be some people take pleasure in pain itself, right? And if you have too much pleasure, you can ask any woman who has a good partner in bed, if she finishes, she needs to wait a little bit to go again. Because if she goes right away, it might actually hurt because the pleasure is just too intense. Because it is the same feeling at its root. It's just about degrees. Too much pleasure equals pain. A little pain can equal to pleasure. And finally, suffering is the same as joy. Now, the parallel isn't the same here. What I'm trying to say is that they are both simply feelings, sensations. If you really try and look at when you're suffering, you will realize it's not something happening within your head. It's just something you've resisted and therefore causes a certain sensation in your body. And the suffering comes from you trying to erase this sensation, trying to not feel it. But if you were to feel it, if you were to actually just look at it, at some point it wouldn't feel uncomfortable anymore. It would just be a feeling like any other. When you're joyful, there is this sense of maybe relaxation, but sometimes it is tense as well. Joy can be tense, because it's riveting. Suffering only happens through resistance to experience because you believe it's something real. You believe it's something happening to you, to the separate self that you believe you are. And that's what causes suffering. When you have a feeling and you don't think you should be feeling it, so you try to erase it. And the resistance of trying to erase it is what causes suffering. So here's what I'm going to propose. If all of it is happening within you, why not enjoy both sides of experience? Now, if you've watched this long, I'm assuming you've liked what you've seen. So I'm going to propose you a deal. If you like my videos and you want to make some money, you can create a TikTok account and just make a bunch of shorts from it. You can keep all the money. I don't give a shit. Just put the link to my channel in there. This way you kind of make me free marketing and you kind of pay yourself depending on how good you're doing the videos. I think it's a good deal. So, hey, you take it if you want, and that's about it. Also, right now you know what causes suffering, and maybe you want a practice that's going to help you out to actually apply this whole letting experience be in real life. So watch this right now if that's what you want to know. And don't forget, work on the inside and the outside will follow. Take care, man. Johnny.